I mean, imagine cities, regions are potato chips, and you think our competitive set is Charleston, Savannah, and Wilmington. Who's the brand leader? Who's the brand laggard? What, in terms of perception, you would say on those brands in terms of, you know, more positives than negatives? How do we rank ourselves? And what basically the basic bottom line question is, how are we doing now in our branding efforts?
Well, I don't really see a big effort in that. I think that I believe it was about 15, 16 years ago, there was a branding effort that started. It never got its legs under it. I'm not sure what happened to it, but I think that tended to fizzle, and I haven't seen any action taken up on that. And I think there's a lot of good direction we could go in marketing Wilmington. And I think that you know, getting back to a question I heard earlier, should there be a leader over this initiative of branding? I think that there definitely will need to be a committee, many committees, for all the buckets that we talk about. You know, in my bucket, it would be obviously the creative services, you know, how do we advertise Wilmington as a whole? And I think that, you know, when I think of that big marketing strategy picture, it's not only in our country that we market to, we market our town, we go outside, we go worldwide. You know, with the internet and all the technologies, there's no reason why we can't market and very targeted market different regions and different countries. So, did that answer your question?
Okay. So before we finish up, I'd like each of you to answer one last question. If you could snap your fingers now and fix one thing of all the things we've talked about, of all the things that you know, fit under the branding label that you think we need to address. What's your, we could fix one thing right now. What is it? I'm going to start with Rick, and then we'll come back down.
Fix one thing. Well, I think I touched on it earlier. I think we, under Dr. Harper and Dr. Rose and Dr. Clark's leadership, we have a wonderful entrepreneurship program here at UNCW. If we could connect the dots with that program and more of an engineering program, wouldn't it be wonderful if we could have an entrepreneurship engineering program? We lived at one time in the Bay Area, and at one time Stanford was a world-renowned liberal arts campus or college, and if you went on that campus in 1985 and you took a visit to that campus today, you wouldn't recognize the differences. And the differences is the university has tied very well with the entrepreneurial community that's emerged there. Biotech, obviously technology, medical devices, and from the medical school to the engineering school to the business school, they've all tied in, and they've become a haven of entrepreneurship that continues to feed that community. So if I could snap my finger for one thing, I'd like to continue to round out the program we've started and work with the University System of North Carolina to fill it out and take full advantage and differentiate ourselves from Savannah and Charleston.
John?
To break it down into the most poignant tactical piece, it's to coordinate the activities that are multitude across the public and private partnerships, and that's going to take one or two groups to come together. And I could think nothing better than for the city and the county to coordinate themselves. They could set the example and set the bar for the other groups that have different goals and objectives to come together towards a common goal.
Jeff?
I would say it would be to further develop our lifestyle-driven infrastructures, and that's, again, is all the things that our kids, our families use day in, day out. I think that's critical.
Tom?
If I could fix one thing, I would try to encourage everyone here to, there's this idea that, well, we need, I think you even mentioned it, we need a lot of, we need multiple committees and we need multiple meetings. And one of the things I would discourage is to think that, that creating new entities to move us forward are necessary. Rather, I would encourage putting all the wood behind one arrowhead. I think there ought to be a hub. And I would propose to you that hub exists. And some people may be shocked that I would say this. I think it's a Chamber of Commerce. And I'll tell you why. I think that Cape Fear Future was born there. The Wilmington 2.0 campaign is being launched from there. They have a beautiful building right down on the river. They play a vital role in shaping our future, and they have the opportunity to become a model for the nation in how to be a 21st century chamber. Those of us who are the misfits, and you know, there's a lot of great people in this room who are dues-paying members of the chamber, and I'm growing in respect for your contributions to that important cause. But you know, a lot of the misfits aren't. One of the things I would encourage is join the chamber and get involved, because the myth that the chamber is out of touch, or the myth that the chamber, you know, doesn't get it, you know, if you come and be a part of that, we can mobilize into something pretty significant. And you know, the other thing when I say put the wood behind one arrowhead, don't demonize entities and organizations that exist and are doing really good and important work. You know, Wilmington Industrial Development Inc., any given day is doing extraordinary things. And for example, when GE is looking to recruit a $500,000 nuclear engineer and convince them to move from Palo Alto to Wilmington, from Palo Alto, California, right in the shadow of Stanford University, and come here, you know, they have some of the greatest public schools in the world, and you know, we don't. And so that's a tough job. And you know, the guys from Wilmington Industrial Development do as brilliant a job on that kind of task as they do on the other many things they're doing. I think we all need to work together, but existing, you know, creating new entities and creating new leadership may not be as important as just, you know, integrating the silos a little bit and rallying around the common cause. Thank you.
I think we need to stay focused on the fact that we are Wilmington. Wilmington is not one entity. It's not a series of entities. Wilmington's brand is not going to be set by what one group says, what a multitude of groups says. Wilmington's brand is going to be set by the people who live in this community, and we put it forward. We put it forward in how we speak about the town. We put it forward in how we act in the town. We put it forward with how we respond to situations and circumstances that we don't agree with. And one of the things I applaud about Wilmington is, for the most part, people in Wilmington feel very passionately about what they feel passionately about, and that's everything. You're not just going to argue about Titan. You're going to argue about what plants should be planted here. You're going to argue about what time this should be opened or that time it should be closed. But one thing I think we don't want to lose sight of is that we enjoy being here. Because if we didn't enjoy being here, we'd be someplace else. We are Wilmington, and Wilmington's brand is the future. And the future is, how do we make this a joy? Not just for ourselves, but for those who are going to come after us. And I think we do that by staying engaged and not losing track of the fact that what is good now can only be made better if we keep that as our primary goal and purpose.
Well, thank you all. If we could please give our panelists a round of applause.